Welcome. It's March 1st, 2022. I'm Joe Weston, and we're here for our online global practice for reviving the global heart. And as you can see, I'm in a different place. I happen to be in the Netherlands at the moment. So I'm connecting in with you through the World Wide Web in a different point. So I'm doing an inventory of this web that we've been weaving for the last 3 years. It's looking pretty good, folks. It's looking pretty good. Weaving this golden web of lasting peace throughout the world. And every time we meet, we reinforce that. It just gets stronger and stronger. It's like the neural pathways of the brain, right? So in terms of neuroplasticity, what's beautiful about that system is that when you hear something new or experience something new or do something new, that some synapses, I say synapses because sometimes I speak Dutch or American or English, I'm not sure what it is, synapses connect. And that's happening all the time with every new experience you're having. The brain is always developing and creating these connections. And the beauty of neuroplasticity is that no matter how old you are, this is happening. So there's always room to learn something new. And the beauty of cultivating new habits and the work that we're doing is every time you repeat the same pattern, that neural pathway gets stronger and reinforces itself and gets stronger and stronger until it becomes a new habit. And you don't have to think about practicing anymore. You're just doing it naturally. It's wired into your nervous system. So you could say the same about our wonderful golden web of thread of lasting peace that we are weaving every week, holding space from our hearts, sharing our wisdom, sharing our love, sharing our commitment that we all do freely. And for those of you who know me, you know I speak in terms like this. I would say that, you're all superheroes. That of all the things you can be doing with this 45 minutes in our precious lives that we have and fast-paced things, that you choose to come back again and again to hold space for more than just yourself, for something larger than yourself. And that brings tears to my eyes. It gives me hope. And it is what the world needs right now. And that we don't only do it in this 45 minutes, but that because we're doing this practice on a regular basis, we're using this practice to be able to create enough of the reinforcement of the neural pathways that when we're walking through the street, when we're in the supermarket, when we're driving our cars, when we're connecting with family or with work colleagues, we drop into our hearts, we drop into presence, awareness, balance, and flow. And we remember our practices, that any sense of separation that we have, any judgments or labels we have, is simply a mental construct and a game that we've been taught. And that more and more of us are beginning to realize it's an outdated game. And there are plenty of other games that we could be playing. It's time to put this little archaic Game Boy or whatever kind of game it might be, put it into the closet and realize the levels of technologies that we are experiencing here. And we get to choose not only our own story, because that's part of a lot of what I talk about, who's telling our story. And unfortunately, if we're not mindful, the media tells our story, governments tell our story, large corporations tell our story, religions tell our story, and so on and so on. And part of this process is us taking back our story. And we get to choose the game we play. And what's fascinating about this is that being here in Europe, I'm not, I was getting some sense of what was happening here in Europe, in the Ukraine, and around Europe generally. And watching BBC and the Dutch news and talking to people and just hearing stories, is I'm seeing people playing such a beautiful game where refugees from the Ukraine are crossing the border into neighboring countries with nothing. And then families who have nothing are taking them in and feeding them. That's a new game. Or it's an old game that's being played in a modern way. Because it's the oldest game there is. Love and compassion and generosity and kindness. And right now, that game is being played in such beautiful ways. And what an opportunity that some of these big babies, we'll call them big babies, who run the show, are giving us by creating this really stupid, old-fashioned, waste of time game called war. It's a silly game. There's never winners. That's the funny thing about the game, is that there's never winners. And yet people go around thinking that it's like that definition of insanity. When you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a new outcome. People continue to play this game called war, expecting there to be a winner, and it never happens. That even though victors are chosen, that everyone loses. And in this new game, this very old, maybe the oldest game around, is being played in a new way, everyone wins. And so just hearing stories like that, people from Britain who have decided they're going to go to the Ukraine and fight. They're British. They have nothing really to do. And I don't even know how far they're going to get, if they're actually going to be allowed to go in and fight, but they're doing that. People who have never picked up a gun in their lives, Ukrainians, are learning how to use them just to protect their children. And more of those kinds of stories. And I'm not sure how much in America you're seeing those stories. You may hear about it. But this is what we need to be focusing on. And that what we're seeing is that this one particular person who is activating all of this is really not living in the present moment, in what's happening now. Some people use the expression parallel reality. I mean, unfortunately, it is our reality. And unfortunately, there's enough systems in place that allow this type of person to have this much power to play this game. And at the same time, it's crumbling. And all the praise we're hearing for this President Zelensky, this TV comedian who has been able to become the hero of the world at the moment, gaining so much praise. And it's not, and he didn't have the experience. He wasn't trained for this. He wasn't. He didn't come from a family that were warriors or military people. What is getting him through it is his own level of resolve, his own resilience, his own capacity in this moment for presence, awareness, balance, and flow. I don't know, I'd like to say, Pauline, I'd be curious what you say, maybe it has to do with his acting training, that he was trained well in this to be able to cultivate that level of presence and deal in the moment with what's unfolding in improvisation. But of course, I believe, and I'm curious to hear what you believe, is that it's coming from his core values and his deepest conviction and his fierce compassion for something larger than himself. And it's inspiring. I'm inspired. The people of Ukraine are inspired. People around the world are inspired. And it just makes it that much easier for people within Russia to risk their lives to protest. Protesters are known to be thrown into prison or executed or poisoned. And that they're doing it. People around the world are showing their solidarity. That's the new game, or that's the old game that we're playing now. And that's the new neural pathway. It's so much easier to fall into the old, into war and hate and separation, because that neural pathway is embedded in our DNA. for millennia. But so is love, and so is care, and so is community and collaboration. There's a four-legged, we got a four-legged here. And that's bringing me hope. And it's up to us to hold that. It's up to us to see what we can do, and it's up to us to hold that hope. And to continue to see human beings in their highest core values. And to remember, I'm not a doula, I'm not a midwife, but I've worked with them. They are the fiercest people I know in the world. And if we from the beginning have said that we are midwives for a system that is dying, we're midwives for the dying, and that we're midwives for a system that is being born, this is where our fierceness comes in. So I'd say I've never been a doula, so I don't know. There's that moment that can be very scary. And we're in that moment. And I'm not saying it's just this week. We've been in that for the last certainly 3 or 4 to 5 years, if not longer. And who knows how much longer we'll be in it. And the more that it's happening, the breakdown of systems, the more we know we're headed in the right direction. Because in essence, all it is that this is just an old system that's falling away. It's in its death throes, and it's trying everything it can to remember, to think that it has power. And in fact, the more it fights and does things like what's happening from this one person in Russia, the more activated they get, which we are seeing happening around the world, the more of an indication, to me at least, is they're on their way out. I hope it's with at least the amount of destruction and pain. And that's my hope. And it just common sense to me says they're on their way out. The global heart is no longer able to sustain that. And the more pain and like I said, the more activated they get and resistance they feel, the more we can celebrate and be in jubilance, hold space for them, love them, care for them in the best way we can. Because as a midwife for the dying would do. And just know that there's a part in us that has to continue that celebration, that what is being emerged and birthed is getting closer and closer. It's here, and it's going to start blooming and blossoming. So that's what's on my mind and on my heart at the moment. And I don't know if there's anybody who wants to just share either now, maybe we do our practice, and then afterwards, if there's anyone who wants to share what's on your heart and how you're seeing this. How does that sound? Good, okay. So taking this into your practice, let's, this idea of, and I can say I did cultivate this concept from my teaching acting, is what do you need to do in your technique to allow yourself to be moved emotionally, to be moved physically, to get off your butt and get into action. And what is it that I've said, and how has that moved you? I'm not saying it should move you, and I'm not saying it was great or anything like that, but that's what activation should be. If you really listen to your nervous system and your system, when you are activated, that's actually could be a sign for I've been moved, I'm ready to take action. I'm ready to take a deeper dive into my own feelings and experience of what's unfolding. And as we know, the more we get out of our head where we experience the world from these mental constructs that separate us, that cause indifference, that cause aversion, that causes attachment, which keeps us in suffering and keeps us in this separation, the more we let go of those mental constructs and drop into our heart, we come into a place where we're moved by it all. We have a heart connection with it all. And from that place, there's just naturally, we get into action. This idea of going from idea to action. And that is what is being called on us. Let's pray and hope we don't need a war to get us into action, right? The people in the Ukraine, they have been moved to action, and they're showing up beautifully, heroically, in a way that I don't know if I could show up that way, honestly. So that's why we practice. Let's get ourselves into action from our hearts, with our bodies, to make a difference, where the external force doesn't have to be something so extreme as that to get us there. So let's use this idea of what it means to continually practice going from our heads to our hearts, to our core, to our bodies, into action and connection, to once again be midwives, to be stewards, and really most importantly, the essence of what fierce civility trains us to be, nurturers and protectors. Nurturers and protectors of our highest values, nurturers and protectors for ourselves, nurturers and our protectors for all others, regardless of how we label them as loved one, stranger, or adversary. And from the perspective of breaking through polarization, nurturers and protectors of the integrity of our conversations and our actions and how we engage with one another. Okay, so sitting in a way where your spine is straight, without being rigid, shoulders relaxed, jaws relaxed, belly's relaxed. Power sit. Bringing your attention to your core in your lower belly, the width of 3 fingers below your navel, a third of the way into the body from the front of the body. Personal power, impulse, action, awareness. From your center, become aware of your physical body. Listening to again, allowing yourself to be moved by the impulses of the physical body, the sensations, being in direct relationship. From your center, become aware of your emotional body. Listening to, in this moment, what your emotional body has to say to you. Being willing to hear whatever it has to say with you without judgment, without censor. From your center, become aware of your thoughts, mental body. From your center and your heart, where your heart power resides in your middle of your chest, compassion, courage, resolve, your highest values, connecting with that part of you that has access to something larger than yourself. But before you connect with something larger than yourself, first connect with that part of you from your center and your heart. That is a sort of bridge or gateway to connecting with something larger than yourself. But before you do that, use this part of you actually to integrate and synthesize the other 3 parts of you. Allow this part of you to seep into your mental body. that which is larger than yourself that you connect with. Maybe we call it your spiritual body. Allow that to flow and connect with your mental body. Allow that now to flow into your emotional body. And allow that to flow into your physical body. And seeing this energy of your spiritual body as an integrative force, integrating your thoughts, your heart, and your physical body, in your body. And with this integrated state of all four bodies, now from your center and from your heart connecting with something larger than yourself. Allowing that which is larger than yourself now to also seep into your mental body, your emotional body, your physical body. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. Expanding out your notion of self to right out to the edges of your personal boundaries. This integrated sense of self now filling and flowing into your personal space, taking up more room in all directions. And with this new awareness now in this present moment of your self, in this present moment, take a full breath in. See if you can maintain this sense of the flowing integration of all four of your bodies as you now connect with your surroundings in all directions. And with this awareness of self and surroundings, take a deep breath. So constantly being inspired by that which is larger than yourself, actually remembering being held from the earth under you, feeling that support and inspiration. Your four bodies integrated as we expand them out, first to your personal boundaries, then to your surroundings. Let's continue to expand your sense of self to now connecting from your center and from your heart with awareness to those in this meditation circle. Recognizing that each person in this meditation circle has just done this previous practice of connecting to self in this way and surroundings. Sharing this experience. In a sense, expanding our field. Creating new alliances. Increasing our capacity. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. Notice where there might be resistance in the physical, emotional, mental body of this as you're expanding, and just breathe into that and make space. With this awareness of self, surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Continuing to expand this awareness of self, actually, your own heart and your own personal power from your center and from your heart, taking yourself, your surroundings, and those in this meditation circle with you, this new alliance, becoming aware of all human beings, expanding to take into the field all human beings. all human beings, including loved ones, strangers, and adversaries. And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings you would label loved ones. And include them into this expanded field that we're creating. Invite them into this new game. Feeling the strength of the alliances as you cultivate this. Moving through the mental constructs that keep you in a sense of separation with them. From your center and from your heart, become aware of those human beings you would label strangers. Strangers around the world, strangers that might be neighbors. Inviting them into this expanded state, expanded sense of connection. Inviting them into the possibility of playing the new game. Of loving kindness, fierce compassion. And from your center and from your heart, become aware of those human beings you would label adversary. Notice who arises in your heart. And open the door to the invitation from your center and from your heart as you connect with their heart and their center, to invite them into this game. The new game, the new old game, or the old new game. Inviting them into this field. Imagining the global heart with this amazing golden thread being woven around the globe. All of us in connection in this way. Again, noticing where in your physical body, emotional body, mental body, there might be resistance to this sense of expansion, and breathe into that from your heart, from your core. And imagine us all as one allied force, directing all of our energy this moment to the territories in Eastern Europe, around the areas of the Ukraine. Inviting anyone there to this new game. And thinking of for yourself of any parts of the world or any groups of people in the United States, in Europe, in Africa, in Myanmar, in China, people who we can send energy to the hungry, disenfranchised. Allowing energy to flow and emotions to flow. Feeling that solidarity of all of us playing this game. And remembering the only way we all win is through games of loving kindness and fierce compassion. With this expanded state and this sense of a created field, of an allied created field, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Before we begin to close, just directing our energy down through the earth to the core of the earth, and all of us, this collective field, sharing our love and energy for the planet itself and all creatures on it. And imagine seeing if the earth itself could smile, that it starts smiling. Maybe she does already. allowing all human beings to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to those in this meditation circle. And as you engage with those in this meditation circle, just an appreciation, gratitude, job well done. Allow those in this meditation circle to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Helping yourself remember this expanded state of a global awareness, even when you're walking around in your space. Allow your space to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to yourself. Feeling that sense of the alliance of a field flowing through you, held by the earth, present to what's unfolding. Allowing the benefits of this practice to flow into every cell of your body, lighting up your cells, flowing into your organs, healing and nurturing your organs. Flowing into your nervous system as a way of remembering this and your neural pathways. Gratitude for that which is larger than yourself. Gratitude for Mother Earth under you. Filling up your battery. And as a way to close this practice, let's take one final breath in. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Stretch your body, shake your body. Look around the room. So we started with our motivation, we did our practice. Now we have a chance to reflect. Anyone have any thoughts on some of the words that I said or in the practice itself? Any thoughts on what's happening in the world?
I love to share a little experience this afternoon. We were with some people drumming for peace in Ukraine and in Russia. And we're drumming with 5 people. And all of a sudden it became a more military rhythm. So whang, like you can hear soldiers walk through the streets. And I felt inside, oh, that's uplifting, that's exciting. And then I thought, oh, whoa, whoa, wait a minute. What's exciting about going to the war? And I had to stop myself, set myself in the middle. I could hear the drumming and I could hear the music, and something changed that I don't have to go to war when I hear this kind of drumming. We were drumming for peace, and this was in my memory because of movies you see, and of course of the news. This kind of music and this kind of drumming, it gives some uplifting feeling. War is nice. And it was really a new experience to feel, oh, I can change that. We are drumming for peace, and we don't need that. We don't need to fight. And maybe we need that kind of uplifting drumming to get energy, but not to fight. You can protect yourself and can defend everyone who is in war, but not to, like, fighting is nice or fighting is the only way. So that was a new experience with that music.
Thank you. Thank you.
I find a challenge in talking to unlike-minded people who are probably of a similar mind state, that this is what we do because we're humans. We go to war, we lift up these things called weapons. And it feels like there's a lot of groupthink. And I was talking with someone in a discussion last week, it's a discussion group, who started defining human history by wars. And maybe someday when the human species evolves to a greater place, I don't know if I'll be around then, we won't have this lower level mentality. It's barbaric. And I've even been involved with a few peace organizations. One has been trying to establish a Department of Peace in the US government. And it's met with a lot of resistance, saying, oh, you already have that. And there is some truth to it, but how can we take this war, which is raw spelled backwards, off the table as a negotiation tool?
Yeah, the interesting thing, Christine, is that the people who say this is just how humans are, that's correct. But it's not the only way human beings are. That's the new frame. That's what I call the power of the pivot, right? Is to say, yeah, that's how we are, but it's not the whole story. And we just got to start telling, there's got to be more of us that are telling the other story or another story. And it's going to take generations to wire that, get that out of our wiring of our nervous systems. That's my viewpoint on that.
Well, I think the important thing of what you're saying is we have options.
Yeah, and we've always had options. It's just a question of which ones do we choose? And who's capable of being present enough to know that there is a choice. That's what these practices are. And the more we do things like mindfulness and other practices, we're training ourselves to be able to get that present and aware to make different choices. We're not going to make the different choices until more of us become more present and aware. Because of the wiring towards the drumbeat that we assume is war. Anyone else have thoughts on that? Todd says Homo sapiens have been around for about 500,000 years. There's only evidence of group violence for the last 13,000. 2% of our history has included war. Copy that if you want to talk to some people. Just and that's a good statistical argument. Again, that comes down to who's telling our story. And how we take, this is a way of taking back our story. Anyone else? Adriana, do you have thoughts?
My thought is very basic at this time. My soul goes out to all those Ukrainian people fighting for their life, and I admire their patriotism. But on the other side, I'm also worried about all the Russian people who are thrown into this war and do not want to participate here. So it requires a lot of courage to go out there and protest this war, as you were very well mentioned. So yeah. I wonder whether there is any option for peace in this situation. There are options, individual options, but the overall options are not out there. I'm rather pessimistic. I don't want to be, but
okay, that's what you're feeling now. It's your feeling.
Yeah.
Something to consider. I remember when in the Ukraine, when there was the revolution, the Orange Revolution, there was an interesting thing that I think I was still living in the Netherlands when that happened, and there were stories of the Ukrainians who were pro-Ukrainian because there was the pro-Russians, the blues, against the orange, who were the pro-Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians were doing actions like the Occupy movement. They were just out occupying places, and they were very well organized. And then the blues, the pro-Russian Ukrainians would occupy as well, but they weren't organized, and it was the middle of winter. And the oranges were watching the blues starve and freeze. And the oranges actually went to their enemies and fed them and gave them blankets. That's changing the story. And what that's doing from our perspective is the mental construct of us and them, of good guy, bad guy. What we're seeing happen is that there are Russians who are questioning, that there is an appeal to the Russian soldiers to put down their guns and go. We've never heard that before in wartime, that we actually considered telling the military to just stop doing what you're doing. That to me is an indication that that very thick mental construct is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. That we are evolving into a generation where we're seeing that war just doesn't make sense. So Adriana, that's what gives me hope.
Yeah.
Is that there are people who are just seeing that this is all just mental constructs, orange and blue, red and blue, north and south, and so on and so on. Israeli, Palestinian, the list goes on. Catholic, Protestant. Those constructs are getting thinner and thinner. And when and as they dissolve, as we do in our practice, then we just connect with our humanity. And you're allowed to be pessimistic.
Yeah, that's why this meditation session was so important this week.
Oh, good. Good. Thank you for your request. And I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Okay, so couple of announcements. I am so excited to be able to say for the first time in 2 years, we are doing a live weekend workshop in Southern Virginia, in Portsmouth, Virginia, the weekend of March 15th and 16th. If any of you in the area or anywhere around the world would like to experience the respectful confrontation method with a little sprinkling and tinge of fierce civility in that, in a live experience with me and my beautiful team and an amazing group of people that will sign up for that, let us know, or there'll be information on the Weston Network website. As always, keep telling people about this and inviting people to this, and keep showing up. It's great when you're here. As always, if you want to make any, Todd just put the link for the weekend workshop in May 15th and 16th. If you want to make a donation, please feel free to the Fierce Civility Project, and any donations go towards the writing for the publishing of the book. Todd just put the link in the chat. Copy that information, that fact that Todd gave us about our history with war, human history with war, and let's dedicate this energy to not only to the people of Ukraine and to the people of Russia, who are all caught, all of them caught in this moment in the madness of power and greed. And may all people on this planet have enough fresh water to drink and food to eat. And may all governments and world leaders govern from a place of compassion and wisdom and loving kindness, as opposed to fear and greed and selfishness. All right, thank you. And see you next week.
Thank you.